Hello and welcome back. I'm thirteene and we're doing Thicc Izzet control. So Thicc is pretty much the best word I could come up with for like super greedy and top end heavy. But you'll notice here that it looks like most of the deck is gone, and it's because a lot of the powerful cards that came out of Eldraine were split cards, and I still haven't bothered to fix that yet. So here we are. Oh boy, I actually have to update the overlay. One moment. But our deck tonight is pretty greedy. Like, really greedy. But it doesn't mean we're not going to have fun with it. So, if you take a look here, we end up running 4 copies of Wild Slash, 3 copies of Izzet Charm, 3 Jayce Vryn's Prodigy, 2 copies of the Royal Saiyans, 4 Bone Crusher Giants. This card has just been absolutely fantastic for me. We have 2 Brazen Borrowers so that we can actually tempo our opponent out and actually get a threat on the table. Then we have Kefnet in here. We have Chandra, God Eternal Kefnet. We actually are running Aetherize. Like, I don't even know a better word than greedy. And so Thicc is probably the best thing that we can do here. Kronos got a Storm, so we have a fairly wide assortment of one-ofs of the gods. We have 2 copies of Rao. We have 2 expansion explosions. We have an Into the Story with 2 treasure cruises and Nexus of Fate. Like, yeah, we are going to be redonking it up here. So I don't really have a highlight for Bone Crusher Giant or Brazen Borrower, but this is a 2-mana shock followed by a 4/3 that whenever it gets targeted, it deals 2 damage. Brazen Borrower is a 2-mana bounce, target non-land permanent, and then a 3/1 flash. Then if we actually do get into couple of the actual highlights for the deck. Rao allows us to fill our graveyard as well as kind of like filter and get some pseudo card advantage off the top. -3 is going to be able to ping things whether they're in exile because we delve them or in our graveyard. And the ultimate is just a fantastic way to win the game. Chandra is just a very powerful planeswalker. She actually might be contesting with Oko for number 1 and number 2 spots. Just very powerful, does a lot of different things. And then Kronos was actually a very powerful in-game card in Theros. It basically draws you non-lands and lightning bolts things while you're drawing. So if you go to late game, he's just a ton of advantage overall. Plus, if you get Devotion, he's an indestructible threat. As I said before, we have a kind of assorted slew of removal. We have Izzet Charm, Jayce, and the Royal Scions to enable Fiery Temper, and honestly, 3 mana for 3 damage is kind of viable in this format. It's not great, but it is kind of viable. Then we are running Aetherize, so we can actually kind of stop all-out creature strategies with tempo. Treasure Cruise will allow us to fill our hand, and Nexus of Fate can help us draw some extra cards. We have a couple of different cards that all kind of do similar things, but that's the overall thought for the deck. And let's see how well we do tonight. So again, the deck is very, very greedy. I'm not expecting amazing things to come from this, but I like playing control, and it seems like a decent place to start. Okay, well, opponent's on the play, but we have Stomp into Fiery Tempers into Treasure Cruise and lands. This is basically all I'm really looking for. We are running 4 copies of Fable Passage to fill our yard for Delve. That's about all it's really there for. Opponent is currently at 6 cards and deciding to keep or not. But we get a lead on a tap Steam Vents, and then we get to Stompy Stomp. If this is a creature matchup, we're probably fine. Alright, they stick with 6. With a pause that long, is this burn? Typically with a pause that long, it means that they have something kind of not great. Toolcraft Exemplar ends up attacking as a 3/2. This is probably a new take on the Mardu Vehicles list that was running around Standard for a little bit. He attacks pretty well if they can run out the artifacts. I'm kind of expecting a turn 2 Smuggler's Copter. Maybe Bomat Courier or Ginger Brute. There's the Copter. Alright, well, attacking for 3 on turn 2 is pretty good, but we're going to start stomping all their creatures, so I'm expecting to get hit by the Smuggler's Copter next turn. The fact that I can't actually stomp this means that I'm going to be a little aggressive here and stomp their creature. If they can run out another one, they do get accrue the Smuggler's Copter and attack, but we'll have Fiery Temper up for the near future. Expansion Explosion here can copy a spell, or it's essentially the blue-red Sphinx's tutelage. I actually think that this card is horribly underplayed. But expecting a creature here is Cruz Smuggler's Copter, take beats for 3. Alright. So definitely Marty Vehicles. You get a Scry 2, and then we're actually getting hit for 4. I don't think we ever ended up getting Thrill into this list, the instant speed tormenting voice. It would kind of help in a scenario like this, and being able to copy it is just a ton of card advantage, but they get Cruz Smuggler's Copter, beat us for 4. They are actually really close to being out of gas. Alright, then that comes in as a 4-4, which means I'm probably going to have to kill this before I can attack the Smuggler's Copter. Only 2 cards in hand, though. I'm not overly concerned at the moment. Like, not in a great spot, but not too concerned. This being a 4-4 is incredibly disappointing. We have 3 mana. We have 3 damage. Discarding Scrap Heap Scrounger, so they're going to be able to bring that back next turn. Nope, nope, nope. Turn off auto yields. We don't want that. Okay. Fiery Temper this guy, and I'm doing it now so that they can't crew during their upkeep. It's going to have to put them on bringing back Scrap Heap Scrounger and then attacking in with this 3-3. Next turn I get Fabled Passage. I'll have 2 cards in the yard, 4 mana, so we're still a little bit off the Treasure Cruise. Odds are I'm going to have to actually cast the Fiery Temper hard again. A Royal Scions would actually be really good here. Oh boy. That's kind of a problem for our deck. It also gets to crew the Smuggler's Copter. Dang. Now they get a plus it, giving it Vigilance or Lifelink or what, Indestructible. Going for Lifelink makes sense. That's actually a really good combo. Yeah, Gideon having 4 loyalty is really hard to deal with. We're going down to 10. We don't really have a ton of life gain here. They also have the Scrap Heap Scrounger that they can get back. Discarding Fatal Push. Makes sense. We haven't shown any creatures. Okay, that is a Wild Slash. So I can Wild Slash and Expansion it. I actually think I want to run out Bone Crusher Giant and hold up the Wild Slash. So is this Indestructible? Yeah, it's with Indestructible. That's unfortunate. Alternatively, I can just Fiery Temper and Wild Slash. That would kill the Gideon. What do they have to do to get this back? Exile another creature card. Kill Gideon, take another hit from the Smuggler's Copter, and then I have to Treasure Cruise next turn into hopefully another Wild Slash. Still take the beat from the Smuggler's Copter. Jeez, I don't like where any of this is going. I think we have to kill Gideon, though. As long as Gideon's up, we can't do anything about him, and they're tapped out. So, hard cast here. Be cool. Tap that, you give red. One of the problems with being thick is low to the ground aggressive decks are very hard to deal with. Smuggler's Copter, Scrap People at least enter tapped. If they have another Gideon, I honestly think we just concede. I'd need to have probably Keranos might be the best top deck there. Kefnet won't be able to attack or block. Yeah, that's a Bomat Courier. Opponent's only got one card in hand, which means Bomat Courier is about ready to cash out if we can answer it. Alright, they're just getting in with Smuggler's Copter. I'm assuming the logic here is they can loot into something castable and then start attacking with Bomat next turn. And hopefully just crew with the new thing that they cast. Kind of expecting a land or a Fatal Push to get discarded here. We look like a really, really bad draw for Phoenix at the moment. They did not trigger. That is very interesting. So I'm kind of expecting a burn spell then. Very, very close to having that be pretty cheap. If I shock this, it doesn't really benefit me at all. If I run this out, then... Actually, I think I just killed Bomat Courier here. I can force them to discard their hand or let me draw a fresh card, and this is going to end up... Sorry, Explosion. Deal 1 damage, draw a card. If they want to counter me drawing a card, they'll have to discard a card, and that'll get their only creature for the Smuggler's Copter off the table, as well as putting an additional card in my yard for this Treasure Cruise. I'm not excited about taking the shock for this, but I think it's my best line. Explosion U. We're going to draw. Oh, it's really awkward having a Sphinx's tutelage that doesn't gain life and 2 7-drops in your hand versus the burn deck. Interesting. Fabled Passage is actually a great draw. It means that we can Treasure Cruise for 2. Is this just Wild Slash? Crackling Doom? Oh, the Scrap Heap. Okay, if they find one more creature, we're dead then? Yeah, just a little bit too slow. I don't believe we want Grafdigger's Cages here. It's just not worth it for Scrap Heap Scrounger. Exile effects are not very common in Pioneer, so this is just a recursible threat that's hard to deal with. Alright, they might be looking for a Wild Slash now. Being at 2 is not great for us. Alright, they drew. What are they pitching? Unlicensed Disintegration. On the plus side, they're probably going to take out all of their creature removal for when we bring in... Oh, did they find it? We're bringing in Thing in the Ice against the stack, most definitely. They saw our Bone Crusher Giant. They might actually... I could totally see that they don't think we're Phoenix at this point. But I need to find another Tormenting Voice, or Firing Temper. Fiery Temper is the correct word. I think I need more blue at this point. Let's just Treasure Cruise it all away. We need the most amount of mana up, and I think we need the most red in case we're doing multiple burn spells. Brazen Borrower technically keeps us alive depending on what this Unlicensed Disintegration does. Oh, that's awful. Alright. If they can only crew one creature, we bounce it. If they can crew 2, we just concede. It's really disappointing playing in deck this aggressive right off the bat when we intentionally went greedy. But Brazen Borrower's Petty Theft is getting cut off by Streamlabs. Oh, I need to update the match record. It's bounce target non-land, permanent, and opponent controls. Alright, and only getting in with the Scrap Heap. Interesting. Petty Theft you. Of note, Unlicensed Disintegration deals 3 damage to a creature's controller, and Petty Theft cannot bounce one of our things, so I have to make sure not to cast a creature until I know that I can protect it somehow. We don't really have a ton of counter spells. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of card draw. I guess we'll have to just see where the card draw takes us. Planeswalkers are going to be a solid way to win this game. But we need to figure out how to actually answer these. Brazen Borrower does have Flash, but can only block creatures with flying, so if they attack in with Scrap Heap again, we're not going to be able to answer it. Alright, well that's kind of nice. Nexus is just a free card here. And yeah, I think I want red. This also really should make opponent think that we don't have Phoenix or Thing in the Ice in our list anywhere. That's a Chandra. That's technically something. Let's go ahead and run her out. Opponent has enough mana to bring back the Scrap Heap Scrounger, so I'm not actually going to do anything with it yet. We're going to plus up for... If I do red, I get to look at 4 cards, which I'll probably find a Wild Slash that I can blow this up at... that's still not going to answer anything. Yeah, I think I'm inclined to pay for 2 and draw 4 as opposed to just rely off the top 1 card. Oh, that's unfortunate. So I'd have to tap out for this Treasure Cruise now. Alright, I guess we'll check to see if they have an Unlicensed Disintegration then. That's awful. I forgot that this has verbiage on it that says they need to have 7 cards. They exiled 1 to bring back the Scrap Heap Scrounger, getting rid of 2 in their yard. I'm expecting... Yep, there it is. Alright, well, we probably could have been able to get around that. Let's take a look, though. We would have drawn into Fiery Temper and the Royal Scion, so yeah, we would have been able to handle that. That's sad. Alright, Mardu Pyromancer. Aether Gust hits a green permanent. Don't really want that. Ooh, or red. Do I want that? So, they have the white guy that's a 3-2 for 1 mana. Definitely want Anger of the Gods. Static Caster can answer the white guy. It can't answer any of the vehicles. It can answer the motorist, so sure, why not? We'll see what we're trimming, but this is a casual, and I do like Thing in the Ice. Thing in the Ice is actually going to allow me to bounce vehicles back to the hand and force them to commit their entire board into a play, and then hopefully just like blow up a vehicle. Aetherize is still just fantastic here. Kefnet's probably bad. We're not going to hit a point where we have 7 or more cards in hand, and it's not like we have Copters of our own to crew with it. God Eternal Kefnet, we'd be revealing nothing that I actually want to cast in this matchup. So, Anger of the Gods will kill my Izzet Static Caster and my JVP, so let's consider trimming JVP. The discard for Fiery Temper doesn't really feel that relevant, and they have a lot of kill spells. I mean, this is fine. I just have to make sure not to anger when I'm expecting to Izzet Static Caster because it's a 0-3. And that's probably how we're going to want to run it. Actually, Into the Story feels bad here. Maybe just keep 1 JVP in. JVP can also kind of be controlled by flipping. If they try to remove our creature, he'll exile and fizzle the spell. But taking the play feels like it's going to help a ton here as well. I'd like some lands, though. Alright, this is going to be an awkward 5. So, Izzet Charm is flexible and can help me loot. Looting into something like a Treasure Cruise can help draw me out of my mulligan, so that's a consideration. I actually have the Wild Slash, so the Fiery Temper feels bad. Royal Scions. This feels like it'd be good long term. It's actually going to gain me a lot of life by forcing the opponent to attack it. Let's take out the Izzet Charm and probably the hardest to cast Burn Spell. Hopefully draw into a land and we can Thing in the Ice on 2 and... Alright, well, whatever. We'll just loot away our treasure cruises. Okay. I hope that means their hand is awful. Leading on Sulphur Falls here, I've already got, like, this won't allow me to cast Wild Slash. It'll just come in untapped on a future turn, but this gives me the most color options at the moment. Ooh, piece of candy. I like Bone Crusher Giant. Now it's going to be on opponent to have Fatal Push or Unlicensed Disintegration. If they have Unlicensed Disintegration, they don't have an artifact yet. This might just be a Copter here. Wow, nothing? Might be an instep Fatal Push? I don't know. Either way, we're going to run out our Royal Saiyans. Does... Like, I know Charming Prince is going to be shorthand for the prince. Is there a version for the princess? Like, I don't think that there's a coined phrase for the princess, especially if she's, like, the hero and not stuck in a tower somewhere. Oh well. We're looking at a fairly commanding position. They need to find an answer for a thing in the ice. It needs to be a non-creature and have the ability to attack the Royal Saiyans. And yeah, we're probably just going to ult the Royal Saiyans this game. Ral, you costing 5 is very unfortunate here. I actually think I want to build up to this Ral, and Bone Crusher Giant is essentially better Wild Slash, so... Let's just do that. If we top deck a land, we'll have Ral and the Royal Saiyans. Hopefully kill whatever creature they run out here. Motorist would just be fantastic. Just a little 3-1 that dies to stomp. Yeah, it's not like we even have much in our exile that we care about. Looting every turn is pretty powerful. Alright, that's a Toolcraft Exemplar. Still no artifact. Did we find a new toy? Gideon Blackblade. Okay, so they're going to plus on Toolcraft Exemplar, probably giving it Indestructible. That's when we stomp it. Now, I would love any creature that can chump block for the Royal Scions here. Gideon is still a problem. Oh, Brazen Borrower would be great. I'm likely going to be discarding that here. There's a Chandra. I'm probably going to be on Bone Crusher Giant here, which means I don't have the mana for Chandra into Bone Crusher. As much as I want the explosion, it's going to take multiple turns to set it up, so let's just pitch that for now. And then I'm going to run this guy out, force them to answer it, and attack the Royal Scions. And I get to follow it up with probably Planeswalker into Planeswalker, which feels like an alright position to be in. Yeah, this card's good. I'm really surprised I haven't seen more of it. It's actually relatively cheap in both paper and Magic Online, but it's really hard to deal with. Like, they get a plus it here. If they don't have a removal spell, then that means next turn they can still exile one of my Planeswalkers. Does this target a Planeswalker? Target creature. Sad Panda. Yeah, the Indestructible feels bad. But... you killed a creature and you chump block for a turn. Bone Crusher, every time I cast you, I've just thoroughly enjoyed myself. Draw 4 cards, then ping any target. So they have to put a burn spell at the Royal Scions. Yep, and they found one. If I top deck a land, Ral doesn't actually cover anything. It's a Wild Slash. That'll at least stop Gideon from going off this turn. But let's loot first. JVP. JVP's not going to flip, but he can chump block. Is that good enough? I think what I'm doing here is I'm going to discard the Wild Slash. No, sorry, the JVP and Chandra into Wild Slash. And then they have to decide if they want to try to deal with Chandra or the Royal Saiyans, but neither are going to die this turn. And then Raul can just come down and start refueling. Yeah, it feels about as good as it's going to get. There's our Chandra. We're going to add red. Slash him just so he can't exile a Planeswalker. And... Alright, well, we're hoping for something thick to come out. I guess if opponents on the ley line of the void, we probably would rather have an Into the Story instead of the second Treasure Cruise. Just makes it so that we can still cast depending on our opponent's graveyard. But that's 4 damage coming at whatever they want. There's the Bone Crusher Giant. I'd love an Aetherize. We have 2 of you in the deck. Come on. You're put in the deck just to be funny, but I would actually love to draw one. Ooh, Heart of Kirin. So, really actually do need that Aetherize sooner than later. Yep, and Distractible is going to keep it alive. We're tapped out, but it's still the best target they've got. Then we're going to see what they prioritize more. They're going to be sending 8 damage next turn regardless. Well, I guess technically 12, but if we can only block 1 or answer the Bone Crusher Giant here, it's going to be 8. Alright, so Chandra is the bigger problem. Castle Vantros. Alright, alluding to Aetherize. Do it. That's a thing in the ice. They're still going to have the Heart of Kirin able to kill Chandra. Versus I plus for mana, end up having 2 mana left over. I can Ral and Thing in the Ice. It's only if I find an additional land, which isn't going to... I guess that's kind of likely off of Ral. Let's go for that. Big mana. There's a big Ral. To that spells controller. So I can kill this without... Yeah, let's actually do that. They can kill 2 of my Planeswalkers here. But if they go after these 2, I get to ult the Royal Saiyans, which means they're probably going to chip off Royal Saiyans for 4 and then probably kill... On the other side of the table, I think Chandra's a bigger problem. I mean, Ral is technically good, but I think Chandra is a bigger problem long term. I guess Ral technically goes to hand, and Chandra is only until end of turn, so I personally want my Ral to live in case we find an Aetherize. Yep, Toolcraft gets pretty big. This is actually a cool trick that opponent gets to do here, is this is going to make it a 3-2, and then they get to accrue the Heart of Kirin off the Toolcraft Exemplar after it gets buffed for having the Heart of Kirin. Yep. And now it's time to figure out what opponent's doing. Me ulting the Royal Scions probably loses them the game, so I assume that they have to at least hit that. Yep, Chandra's a bigger problem. I want Aetherize. My favorite part about playing janky decks is just trying to determine what card I actually want to see. Like, Aetherize is not something most people want to draw. I guess in Limited it kind of works. Okay, well, that makes me a little sad, but we still get a loot, we still get a draw for turn, and we still get a Chandra flip, so... Yep, you got it. Now they can also -6 the Gideon. I don't think they're going to cash in here, but it is something to be concerned about. Anger of the Gods will clear this out of the way, and then they have to use Loyalty to Cruz. So that would actually keep them from ulting. That feels relevant. Let's take a look at what we draw into, though. Because Wild Slash does essentially the same thing here at instant speed. The land feels excessive, and then if I want to do both of these, I have to plus Chandra for mana. Yep, I think that's what I'm committing to. And then Heart of Kirin gets to go towards Chandra, then they're probably going to send Gideon at the Royal Saiyans. I have to run out the thing in the ice here first, just so I get a counter off since I'm not going to be blocking. Then there's the Anger. That'll clear out the dork and set us a little closer towards flipping thing in the ice. I mean, it's totally worth noting that our card quality is going to be significantly better than opponents here. We're seeing more cards a turn. We are... Like, this Gideon's a problem, and it's going to be hard for us to answer until we flip thing in the ice, but we're in a very lucrative, good position, whatever. Where's our Hardened K? I mean, their Gideon's not really getting them much footing at the moment. I guess I can lifelink. It already has Vigilance. Don't have an answer for it. If they send Gideon after Chandra, am I chump blocking? That actually is a question I probably need to answer for myself. Probably not. I think the thing in the ice is quite powerful. No, they're going to have creature removal. I think I do block for Chandra if they go that route. Yep, as expected, going for the guaranteed kill. The card advantage is just too much for them to pass up. Then Royal Saiyans are getting chipped. Makes sense. This feels bad because if there's two cards I want, then I'm discarding a good one, but there's another Chandra. And just doing that to ping, I guess. Yeah. So they're probably going to run it back, send Heart of Kirin at the Royal Saiyans and Gideon at Chandra. They do have two cards in hand now, which is kind of bad. Oh, that's going to be able to kill Chandra. Alright. Felt like we were in a pretty good position, but that 1 point of damage is very relevant, and the Scry 2 is actually setting them up. That actually might have been a top deck that draws them out of this game. Man, I just wanted an Aetherize. Like, even a Brazen Borrower here would have been good. It was 6 of the top, like, at least 5 I could have drawn into. That would probably be pretty good. Because they do have so many kill spells, I think I do have to chump block for Royal Saiyans here. We were so close. We were just a turn off. Yep, and there's a Sulphur Falls, which doesn't really accomplish anything. There's a Ral. If I top deck another land, I can cast it, but I'm currently taking 9 a turn, so yeah, we're good to move along. There are a couple of cards that actually might have been able to do something there, but opponent's deck was just a little too low to the ground, and we didn't draw very well. Which is weird, because we kept filtering. Like, I should probably set this up for the deck view, since there's so many cards that we can't cast. Like an Izzet Charm there would have been able to answer any of their creatures. Like a Bone Crusher Giant would have actually just been able to ping Gideon and then put out a blocker and actually force killing him. There might have been a moment there when we made the mistake of chump blocking for one of our Planeswalkers when we could have used the Bone Crusher Giant to attack the Gideon. But I think opponent had enough creature removal that it was something that we kind of just had to deal with. I don't know. I'd have to run it back to actually see exactly what the scenario was and how we drew, but we had plenty of good cards to draw into, and we just did not get there. We need a blue source a little too badly for me to keep this hand. I guess this is a turn 3 Fiery Temper at the very worst. This might be fine. Chronos is really good, and if it's a slower matchup, we have that. If it's an aggressive matchup, we have multiple cards that can just deal targeted damage. MTG Stocks just had Sarah as one of the cheap pickups. That's one of the cards I need to go buy for myself. Opponent's currently at 6 cards. I know I'm going to be kicking myself for keeping this hand in the future, but if we end up discarding to hand size, we can cast our Fiery Tempers. $23 lands of note. We're going to have... Oh, this is the turns deck. We're going to have 4 Fabled Passages that come in untapped and 2 Castle Vantresses. Yep, this is going to be miserable. Alright. Well, this was a danger for our hand, so our opponent not doing anything and us not doing anything is going to be for horrible gameplay. Got a Blossoming Sands. Alright. I'm going to make them show us a Wilderness Reclamation or a Nexus of Fate before conceding. The fact that I'm stuck on 2 red sources is very, very bad here. We need multiple turns to activate our Planeswalkers, and they're very deterministic, so... if I top deck something here, I can kill the Arboreal Grazer. That's probably not relevant, so I should be Wild Slashing this Rejuvenator at instep. I guess the Zombie token. Oh my gosh, this is awful. Alright, well, again, Wilderness Reclamation or Nexus to confirm, and then we will board and hopefully be in a little bit better of a position. Opponent does only have 3 cards left in hand. I mean, lands are still zombie tokens, but... Sphinx is rev for 4. Yeah, that's good enough for me to concede. This is 100% the Wilderness Rec deck, so we can go ahead and start sideboarding. Aether Gust will hit a green speller permanent coming in. Fry, they don't really have Planeswalkers. The Dispute, you can counter Sphinx's Rev, right? I'm pretty sure you can. I just want to double check. Yep. Mystic Dispute is still a counterspell for Wilderness Reclamation. It gets really bad after the fact, but that's still worth mentioning. Anger of the Gods is a temporary answer, so I don't like bringing those in. Thinking the guys can be kind of a faster clock, so I think that's going to be coming in. JVP, probably bad. Fiery Temper, 100% bad. And I think any of the things that are synergistic around that need to come out as well. Royal Scions are fine just because the opponent won't be able to answer them very quickly, and it is an alternate win condition. But into the story, they're not really going to fill their yard. Let's do it like that. Graph Digger's Cage doesn't exactly do anything. We'll play first. Hey, look at that. We have 2 colors. A burn spell, a counter spell, a Gust, Royal Scions. This looks a little bit better. I don't think my 2 life is relevant, so it probably would have been correct to hold up the Wild Slash there, but if they do anything, it's probably an Arboreal Grazer, and I won't be able to kill it, so the 2 damage wouldn't be very meaningful. I don't think sending 2 damage at their face is a good call. And this is a tap land, so it's coming out. I can't expect I want to Izzet Charm anything, but I know I want a Royal Scions next turn. We're not going to burn them out, at least until we get a Keranos online for a little while, so I think that this is better as flexible removal. Yep, Growth Spiral. Unfortunately, that means tapping out here for the Royal Scions means I won't be able to counter the Wilderness Reclamation, but I can Aether Gust it on their main phase, so it's going to be at least a little bit of a tempo play. With my current hand, I think I want more red. Just since we had the extra island here. Run out the Royal Scions. We'll go ahead and loot. I'm going to discard the Expansion Explosion. It's just a really late game thing. We want it about the same time you'd want a Sphinx's Rev, which is tapping out on like turn 6-7. Alright, so no Revelation yet. The Field of the Dead is kind of bad for us. It's 5 lands with different names already. So they need 2 more land drops, but that's what their deck does. Alright, that's a Keranos. That's something. With everything that I've seen so far, I think the worst card in our hand is Wild Slash. I do like the fact that I can answer a zombie, and that would actually be in time for the Royal Scions to ult. And drawing the Chandra, I actually think I have to decide here if I'd rather have Keranos or Ral. I think Ral is better for setting up actual answers for the opponent's deck, so by Keranos, you tried. Fabled Passage gets to come out. Now I want more blue. We can Chandra. And may as well just ping him. Nope, not casting Brazen Borrower. Sorry, you tried. You're a good card. And I would have actually liked to have you in my hand, but not off the top of Chandra. Alright, there's an Hour of Promise. That's going to get them 2 cards turning on the Field of the Dead. So I think they're getting 3 zombies here if I counted correctly, which means Wild Slash, Izzet Charm, Chandra minus, plus the Royal Scions, and then they get an ult the following turn. I guess they're 1 shy. It's the one after 7. I didn't play Standard. I apologize. I should know this card a little bit better. Okay, so they had 2 Field of the Deads. That's a little harder to answer. And Aether Gust doesn't really get me there. So, first steps first. Let's draw and discard. Brazen Borrower is actually great. It's 2 mana, remove target zombie. Maybe they're not on Nexus? 2 Aether Gust is too many. So, here I think I have to tap up for mana. Because oh my gosh, that is so bad. So, Izzet Charm, Wild Slash, Brazen Borrower. That means 2 damage is getting in at something. Alternatively, I plus Chandra. Quick look at the deck. Plus Chandra, find a Wild Slash, I'm probably okay. Plus Chandra, get a Bone Crusher Giant, doesn't really do anything. Hitting a land's not going to recover any problems. If we had 2 Static Casters, that might have done something. Alright, well, that means we have to... I'd rather get the loyalty on Chandra here, so... Let's do all this main phase. Hit you. This feels so bad. Valakut's always a terrible, terrible, terrible matchup for control. You did start getting Field of Ruin and Cryptic Charm in Modern towards the end there, when Field of Ruin was actually good and you had Crucible on the side, but their big stuff just goes so far over you. Alright, we Petty Theft that. They have 4 cards in hand. They make 1 land drop, they get 2 zombies. Destroy all non-land permanents. Lovely. Alright, this one might be slipping away too then. I mean, I can run out of Brazen Borrower if I whiff on a land. Nope, there's a land. So, Ral comes out, draw a card, put a card in the yard. I think I have to find Treasure Cruise at this point. Yep, that technically is Treasure Cruise. So I can Treasure Cruise for blue and then hopefully find another solid answer. Kronos would have been a better card to keep than Ral, but you live and you learn. I just don't have enough cards to try to fight this battle. And like, even if I would have had Anger of the Gods on the board, them getting all these zombies here, next turn they just get 4 zombies for every land, and that's not something I can keep up with. Repeatable Static Caster would have been great, but make that 8 zombies a turn? I guess it'd keep me alive for 1 more turn here, but it's not like opponent's going to mill out or anything. Alright, well, Ral's going to show me 2 cards. Treasure Cruise is going to show me 3, so I'm going to Treasure Cruise first. And Instance in our yard kind of would have made a little bit of a difference. There's a God Eternal Kefnet. There's a regular Kefnet. Not enough cards in hand, and I think we're good to scoop it up there. They did not show us Wilderness Reclamation. It looked like they were just Pioneer Valakut. So, kind of a note to take away. Yeah, that doesn't work. Deck so far has felt awful. We have not once seen Royal Scions or Jayce with the Fiery Tempers. Kind of had some mana problems for 23 lands. Like, I did consider going to 24 just because we had the Fabled Passages, but we have plenty of lands. Coming back, we are a very greedy deck. We knew that going in. I think that's going to be the root of the problems in the last 2 matchups. But the reason I kind of justified the greed, at least for this league, was because we get a stomp into Bone Crusher Giant into hopefully a Ral on turn 5 with this hand, which just looks fantastic. We're on the play, so it should be somewhat viable. Field of Ruin, where were you last game? You were in here specifically for that matchup. Opponent's at 5 cards, making me think they're on Dredge. Although we mulled to 5, and we are a very, very playable mana base. So, who knows? Overgrown Tomb, no Thoughtseize. This is likely Golgari then? Stomp on Grimflayer next turn would be great. Still representing the, I'm probably, is it Phoenix mana base? Come on, Grimflayer! Ooh, Sultai, so likely food. Having the other Bone Crusher Giant in hand, I'm going to stomp the opponent's face. It also makes us look more aggressive, so opponent's hopefully going to commit a little bit harder to coming out quickly. Kind of expected to negate there as well, and I'd rather have Bone Crusher Giant get negated than... Oh, this is... if they miss their land drop or run out another island next turn, Field of Ruin here would be correct, but I think given everything that we have, I want to get something on the table that can deal damage. I'm also expecting an Oko out of opponent, so at least having this out means they'll elk it. Next turn, I also get a Jayce and Bone Crusher Giant. Double Spelling's good, and you should lean into it. Next turn, I could also Field of Ruin and Jayce, but I think holding up Stomp is likely the correct thing here. Fabled Passage is kind of strong, so let's attack, not give our opponent any more info. If they have removal, they'll send it at Bone Crusher Giant. Although if they have removal, it's probably Assassin's Trophy. Alright. That's fine. So deal 4 to opponent and ramp over 2 turns. Things I'm quite happy to see. Then this means I get to Field of Ruin and have 3 mana up. What are the odds they have Spell Pierce? Probably not very high. And if possible, I'm likely going to be discarding lands if I find any looting effects. Fabled Passage is going to thin our deck when our opponent's running Assassin's Trophy, so going to try to hold back on the Fabled Passage here. But I think we're on Ral. We forced out an Assassin's Trophy, and it's not likely they have Spell Pierce. They could have Stubborn Denial. That's actually something that could totally happen. All right. Works for me. And opponent's kind of far away from Into the Story being relevant, but I don't need another land. I really just do not need another land. Would not be overly surprised to see another Assassin's Trophy here. Although if they have it, they either need to do it now or during my draw step. Alright. Sulfur Falls relatively free. Kefnet is a very hard to answer thing for them, so yeah, let's go Kefnet. There's also nothing I want to Fiery Temper at the moment. Yeah, I can't Into the Story yet. Jayce, Bone Crusher Giant, Kefnet. Yeah, let's just Kefnet. I really want to resolve Kefnet. Oh, and he only costs 4? Okay, I should have read this card a little bit harder. You may reveal the first card, you draw every turn. Whatever you reveal in instant or sorcery, copy it. You may cast it by paying 2 less. And then New God text. So Kefnet Jayce. And these are all 3 things opponent must answer if they are playing control. Elkeen this gets rid of the New God text. Darn you, Oko. Alright, well, that's a Fatal Push. And that's a Drown and Lock. I actually think I do want Kefnet back. Opponent had a lot of removal in hand, but we have an active Ral. I'm perfectly okay with where we're at. Metallurgic Summonings. Okay, that could be a problem long term. Whenever they cast an instant sorcery, they get a construct, and then they get to rebuy all of their instants and sorceries. So, do need to actually start applying some pressure here. Ral's Emblem is going to be kind of close. Aetherize permanently removes it. Okay, we're in a fine spot. This should get me back my Kefnet. Ooh, or Chandra. Actually, I think I want the Chandra. Alright, there's Chandra. I get a hold-up stomp. Although I think I'm plussing for card advantage here. Is it Charm? Do I want to loot? I can get rid of 2 lands. No. Opponent has shown us Drown the Lock. I'm going to not actively try to fill my yard for that. And I can also Field of Ruin on their green source, which I'm expecting to get Assassin's Trophied here, so I guess it really doesn't matter with them having the forest, but actually now it's really irrelevant. They have another Metallurgic Summoning. Alright, well, we are alting Ral, so that's probably fine. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you deal 4 to any target and draw 2 cards. And we have a lot of mana up. I did not Field of Ruin there because they could float, go get their 1 basic swamp and Assassin's Trophy if they had it. I'm really just trying to take all outs off the table. 2 Metallurgic Summonings is kind of okay just because we have the Aetherize, so they won't be able to make contact for at least a full turn. I'd like to run out my land first in case I am casting something big. Plus Chandra, revealing a Fabled Passage. So yeah, I think I'm just stomping. I want to draw cards. Who doesn't want to draw 2 cards and deal 4 damage? You're a good giant. I like you. Ah, there's a Nexus of Fate. Oh, I already plush Andra. That may have been poor timing. Uh, Cannot actually cast this at the moment. I can cast Aetherize just to cast it, but as long as I don't have much going on, I think I'm just running out the Giant. Opponent's at 6, so they're pretty much dead. No cards in hand. Like, they can rebuy when they get 6 artifacts, so they have to Treasure Cruise, and that's not happening. Yep. Alright, so they are artifacts. Thing in the Ice comes in again. This is probably very apparent, but the good version of this deck is Arclight Phoenix, and they run 4 Thing in the Ice's main board. We have these in here because they flip things. Mystical Disputes coming in because they have a lot of blue spells that we can target. Aether Gust can target red and green things. I could see them potentially being on Oko or Vraska, but I didn't see anything really worthwhile for me to hit. Grafdigger's Cage is in here basically just for dredge, since blue and red aren't very good at dealing with that. We can't stop them from casting Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, or picking things back up with the Metallurgic Summoning, so we're probably just going to have to go like that. Fry can hit a blue or white creature or planeswalker. I believe the artifacts that Metallurgic Summonings creates is colorless, and I'm not bringing in Fry to get rid of a token. They are going to be playing a very greedy late-game version of Control, like we are, so at the very least, this should be interesting gameplay. We have to cut 5 things. As much as I really like this package, the Fiery Temper doesn't do anything in this control matchup. The opponent also has a lot of removal that they're pulling out, so we need to probably stick with that plan and take out removal of our own. So it's going to be Bone Crusher Giant or Aetherize. Aetherize permanently removes the tokens they're trying really hard to create. Bone Crusher Giant is actually an early threat. Maybe it's just the Jayce. If he doesn't get removed, he is quite strong, but odds are that Drown in the Lock or Fatal Push will still grab him. This is slightly slow, but fine. We're going to have 2 draws and a scry to find our 3rd land, and this Aetherize is a little bad, but we have Jayce and Mystic Dispute and Wild Slash if they happen to have a creature. I mean, these last 2 cards aren't great, and Row's a little bit better to draw than to be in our opening hand, but this is still a solid 4 with a couple of backup plans. Opponent's currently at 6. Oh, sorry, I need to put my overlay back up. And we are currently 0 and 2 because we're doing horrible with a greedy deck. Who would have figured? Mystic Dispute on their 5th turn is going to be fantastic. I don't know, maybe this hand was a little bit slow because I want to use this on mystical or metallurgic summonings. I have probably been saying 5 different names for that card. Alright, Basic Mountain is an additional land. Temple of Epiphany, show me a payoff. Nope, don't want that. Go away. You are a good land. I appreciate what you do. So this looks like Drown in the Lock, but I have nothing in my yard at the moment, so odds are I'm going to have to shock in next turn, so I'm not going to lead on the land and show the shock next turn. I'm going to shock now and actually show a payoff for the shock. There's the Jayce, and see if they have the Assassin's Trophy or the Fatal Push. If they don't, Jayce will help us loot into something decent. If they do, they do. Oh, they're even ramping us. Look at that. I got the island here for the Mystic Dispute. I think that this is going to pay higher dividends to cast this turn than the Wild Slash would. Now I don't even need to shock in this other Steam Vents. I can just put it in tapped and hold up the Mystical Dispute. That seems great. Although, we'll be tapping out for Ral the turn that they want to Metallurgic Summonings now, so I think that means on turn 5 I'm not doing anything yet. Control games are fun. I have to figure out how my sequencing is going to best pay off. These 2 cards did actually show themselves to be pretty blank here. Maybe that was a mulligan. We didn't have a ton of great cards to pull out. Okay, well that Fabled Passage is coming in untapped. Brazen Borrower actually gives us a fantastic additional option in case they go for something here. So 100% passing. The next turn we can Ral with Mystical Dispute up. Brazen Borrower also puts a real clock on. Yep, gotta crack the Fabled Passage first if you're going for it. This is a pretty swamp. That one's OG Zendikar. This one was OG but got reprinted. That one's probably OG as well. Alright, well. I'm assuming they have two of these again. I can't imagine saying that we're a control deck and just running that out if you don't have a backup plan is correct, but... I mean, gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, well... I'm going to run out Brazen Borrower. It could be correct that I want to leave the Petty Theft up, but I think that running out Ral here and having the clock and just committing to my own board state is going to be correct. Oh, look at that. Thank you, deck. We may be really greedy tonight, but you are paying dividends. Ral also filling our graveyard for us. I just love this guy. Every time he resolves and I don't immediately lose is just fantastic. The Bone Crusher Giant gets to go away. I have another counter spell up. This is just fantastic. So with two cards in hand, it seems really unlikely that they have a Metallurgic Summonings and a Mystical Dispute, so we're likely going to win this. If they have an additional one. That land there also really makes it unlikely. Alright, well, Ral's still technically a good clock. Keeping the Drown in the locks feels really weird to me. Yeah, that's not happening. No combo for you. Dig Through Time notably would give them 8 cards for their Metallurgic Summonings. So, or an 8/8 token. I should probably highlight this since this is the core of their deck. So Delve is very powerful with things that care about converted mana cost. We found a Kefnet. Oh, we might actually be able to do Kefnet things here. We even found a Treasure Cruise too. I had casting Kefnet just because I didn't ever think this was going to happen. Then I get a Treasure Cruise and hold up the Mystical Dispute. I'm so happy. Yeah. I was considering not running out the land there because Kefnet needs to have 7 cards in hand to attack our block. But we're going to end up drawing, and then we'll end up picking up with Ral, and we can swing for 5. I think the additional lands are going to be pretty core to actually activating Kefnet and getting multiple triggers off of it. But opponent's going to be running out of gas at any moment here. Like, getting Metallurgic Summonings countered and Dig Through Time countered, they're not going to have many resources. This says Indestructible. If you'd like to lose 2 life, that's fine. Yeah, I'm mildly confused by that one. But then again, this is a very unique card, so I get it. Alright. Oh, there's a Ral. I think I have to go Izzet Charm to counter a non-creature spell, though. Alright, Kefnet gets in. Then let's make my land drop. Yeah, let's Royal Scions. I want to win hard. All the greedy cards, all of them. Then I get to activate Kefnet and pick up one of my lands, draw a card. Alright, Growth Spiral's a redraw for them. But we're about to alt Ral, and then Wild/Mystical Dispute. Izzet Charm kill them? Yep, that's fine. I guess in this scenario, I'm not actually going to pick up a land just because I plan on killing them here. We get to do the thing! We even got Kratos! Alright, emblem up. Wild Slash, hold control. Then we're going to trigger you. Then we're going to counter target non-creature spell unless its controller plays 2. Oh, we had you dead. We were going to Izzet Charm the Wild Slash, then we were going to Mystical Dispute the Izzet Charm. We weren't going to pay for the Izzet Charm, and then we would have had 3 triggers and a Wild Slash going at their face. Alright, well, we did the greedy things, and we even did it versus the greedy deck, so that feels pretty good. I mean, that kind of makes sense. The fact that we did that versus the greedy deck when the low to the ground decks are killing us seems pretty good. Land decks always kind of just take over the top. Whether you're casting Ulamog at the top or just doing land things like Valakut or Field of the Dead, it's just quite powerful. Just really hard to interact with. That is why we have a couple of the Field of the Deads here. Alpine Moon almost made the cut here, but every time I've tried to run in Pioneer, it's done literally nothing for me. If Field of the Dead becomes a real deck, we might revisit that. Jayce into Petty Theft, Royal Scions. I like this hand. Expansion Explosion could copy one of their spells. Opponent being on the play is a little unsettling, though. We move a little slow for that, and this looks like a Thoughtseize. No Thoughtseize. Into the Story, not exactly the card I wanted to see at the moment. Likely leading on Jayce. I think I'd rather Jayce get answered than the Brazen Borrower. It really depends on what opponent does. If they run out a threat here that I have to answer, like the Dreadhorde Butcher. Okay, it's Jund, so probably going to be a Grimflayer, in which case I need to have the Brazen Borrower. Show me what you got. Oh, it's Hazoret. Okay, this is going to be... this actually just might be Jund. Grimflayer? Lotless Troll. Okay, this looks like a homebrew that's going to be trying to empty their hand. And that seems fine. So, this guy having Trample, I'm expecting something to get answered here. If I'm expecting something to get answered here, I think that's Jayce, just because I don't have a good payoff for Jayce yet. This Hazoret's also going to be really hard to answer. Likely going to need to bounce it when opponent gets empty-handed and just keep them replaying it turn after turn after turn. Also, Petty Theft gets better as they grow the Lotless Troll. That was a thought that I had, I just didn't verbalize it. Salmon. Oh, this is this is Soulflayer. Okay. They got Hexproof, Double Strike, Vigilance, Haste, Indestructible. Okay. Don't think I can beat that. Yep, we're good. Well, that was a... They're swinging for 13 there. Mystical Dispute can answer it? It's definitely Thing in the Ice. Flipping a Soulflare is one of the few ways to actually beat it. Aether Gust can hit Hazoret or the Lotleth Troll. Lotleth Troll hitting the battlefield, though. Anything we do to interact with it, they just get to flip it and kill us. Mystical Dispute can answer the Grimflayer, or the Soulflare. I was thinking Jund. Abzan played Grimflayer for a little bit, but Soulflare, I think countering it's going to be one of the few ways that we actually beat it. That was a pretty good hand from the opponent. The 5/5 Flying Indestructible is probably a good blocker. Like, even if we just turn 3 Kefnet and do nothing else until later in the game. Keranos is probably too slow and bad here. If we beat them, we're going to beat them pretty hard. Grafdigger's Cage, again, not showing to be very powerful. Like, we can't stop the Soulflare with the Grafdigger's Cage. It just doesn't happen. JVP is kind of bad. Actually, no, it's the Fiery Tempers. You have not worked out tonight. You have made me sad. Wild Slash is also kind of bad. I think I'd prefer Keranos over a Wild Slash. We can hit a Grimflayer, but if they discard creatures, they just grow it out of range for it. And that's awful. This is fine. Izzet Charm doesn't counter the Soul Flare, but we're at 6 already. God Eternal Kefnet can block as long as it doesn't get double strike, which is probably fine. I think Rao's going to be the bottom here. He's just going to come out too slow and doesn't actually impact when he hits. I could also see a world where if opponent's stumbling at all, we just Izzet Charm on 3 and try to flip Jayce as soon as possible. Flipping Jayce as soon as possible and going for the milk hill. You get your choice, opponent. Ripping a titty off the top would just be fantastic. Although I only have 1 instant sorcery at the moment. Yeah, that makes sense. Not really sure what to read about them leaving the Izzet Charm. Maybe they knew we were going to draw one. I don't know. It just feels like Izzet Charm would stop Once Upon a Time or Traverse the Ullenwald or any of their actual setup cards. Maybe they knew we were going to Jayce on 2 and they're just going to use their setup card now. Especially drawing the second Izzet Charm can really see a world in which I just go to flip Jayce. Grizzly Salvage, that's a pretty good setup. Getting Hexproof, Trample, and that's it. That is a Soul Flare I can beat, though. Alright, Field of Ruin. Cannot activate Izzet Charm this turn. Field of Ruin will put 1 more card in the yard. Izzet Charm, discard. Izzet Charm in one of our future top decks is going to put 4 cards in. We're fairly close to flipping this Jayce. But I think at the moment, if I draw Titty, I want to cast it this turn. So we have to do this now. We're not flipping Jayce anyway, and opponent's not attacking. Yeah, I think that Izzet Charm can go away. Also, if opponent has a non-creature that they're counting on, that kind of gives them a false sense of security since they saw that. Opponent only knows about the God Eternal Kefnet in our hand. Alright, opponent, what you doing over there? You kept a 7, so I would think that you're in a pretty good position. If this is a Lotless Troll, I don't believe Izzet Charm will be able to kill it with 6 cards, well, 5 cards in hand. Well, let alone just the Regenerate. I'm assuming that they have 2 creatures they can discard. I don't believe I want to Izzet Charm yet, so let's just go for the Field of Ruin. God Eternal Kefnet being a 4/5 feels very relevant here. Should be able to block the Soul Flare. Oh, do they actually have Assassin's Trophy? That was like the only thing I would have thought they could do. Once Upon a Time. Alright, that's fair. What'd you find? Found a Deathrite Shaman. Alright. Izzet Charm, flip J, shrink this, doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. I think I just want a Kefnet. As long as opponent's taking a moment to set up, me trying to get my board state ready for Soul Flare is probably the best thing that I can be doing here. I could also see a world where expansion on Izzet Charm could, I don't know, at least let us see a ton of cards. Lotless Troll having Trample means I'm just likely not blocking with anything. Jayce Fog doesn't actually mean a whole lot because he'll just attack in and I flicker him and Trample goes through. If they can discard 3 things to kill my God Eternal Kefnet, it's not a good exchange. Plus, they're likely going to have the mana up to regenerate. That is going to go get them Soul Flare. So now they have Hexproof and Trample. Oh, there's a Samet. So they're going to have Double Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. I really just need Thing in the Ice. I think that's the only thing that's going to get me out of this. Yep, that's pretty powerful. Oh wait, they don't have Indestructible. That means my God Eternal Kefnet will kill it. Attack! I'll 100% make this trade every day. I mean, the hexproof is annoying, but I will totally make this trade. I mean, just confirm. Yeah, no Indestructible. I'm a 4/5. I even get it back? That's a heck of a deal. So, keeping this in the yard, I'm going to flip Jayce. Ooh, that's a Chandra, and the Chandra's going to kill the Lotless Troll. Yeah, let's discard Expansion Explosion here. And then I actually do want God Eternal Kefnet back. I don't think opponent's going to make that same mistake again, but I'd still rather draw and have a 4/5 that can potentially filter my draws in the future. Steam Vents is not amazing, but still kind of a necessary evil. I can flash... Okay, so I'm actually going to Chandra and Izzet Charm from hand. Using her mana. That will kill the Lotless Troll, then they are really out of some options here. Shrinking it is okay, but with no blockers for my Planeswalkers, it's just going to chip in and eventually grow. If I minus here, she's further away from ulting, and I want to close this out before they can set up again. So, 2 damage to target creature. And then I'm officially out of gas, but Chandra's going to let me see 2 cards a turn, and opponent has no haste at the moment and no way to fuel the graveyard. I am an idiot. They couldn't regenerate, but they could grow it. And they have Hexproof coming in. Alright, well, that is a worthy punt. That is a very worthy punt. Should have just minused on Chandra. I wanted her loyalty up, though. It felt like it was worth it. I understand that I missed something, but them not being able to grow it, I think that was the correct play. Now they get to attack a Planeswalker and really shrink it down. Gather the Pact is probably going to get them Soul Flare, which will be... Oh, they got Chromaticor. Thank you. Yeah, I've actually had to stop watching him. He has had some really interesting decks that I want to watch, but it's been kind of painful. I know I've made a lot of mistakes too. When you try to talk through all your lines, you can miss quite a bit, but just trying to do our best, and it's a little painful to follow that one. Alright, well, grow the Lotless Troll. They have 2 cards in hand. Chromaticor is going to be very large, and Salmon's going to give it haste. They still don't have Indestructible yet. Seth does some really, really fun and cool decks. Like, absolutely amazing decks. Oh, that's sad. And when I see something cool, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Oh, okay, well, we're probably going to leave it like the second match, but we'll still give it a shot. So here I have 2 options in front of me. I can flashback Izzet Charm and loot away the Steam Vents, but I'll only have 3 mana up, or Chandra's mana. I think opponent sent me up here for trying to minus on the Lotless Troll, and then they'll just discard something. I believe getting rid of this long term is... Oh, she's -3. We're good. Let's plus and see what we get. This is where we're at. Treasure Cruise? I probably knew that was coming. Again, getting distracted trying to talk to chat. So, God Eternal Kefnet. Now, is it worth killing Deathrite Shaman is the next question. So, it's only going to stop me from delving. I don't think that's worth it. If I shrink this, they're going to need to grow it twice in order to kill my God Eternal, which is definitely a possibility. But they at least won't trample over to my planeswalkers. The Deathrite Shaman's only life loss. We're just going to shrink and move on. We have a couple of really good top decks, and I don't think they have the ability to kill Chandra now unless they draw an Assassin's Trophy. Or, you know, Soul Flare. It's very possible they just have the Soul Flare. It'd be flying, first strike, trample, lifelink, double strike, haste, vigilance. Yeah, that's going to be a nasty Soul Flare. Assuming they do have the Soul Flare, again, won't have Indestructible, so God Eternal Kefnet might be keeping it back for the moment. They've been playing kind of aggressively. But I could see them swinging in with both the Lotleth Troll to kill the Chandra and the Soul Flare to just take the blocker off the Lotleth Troll. I'd also really like to cast this Explosion. We're hitting the point where we'd be able to do 2 damage to the Deathrite Shaman and draw 2 cards. Not fantastic, but still pretty decent. Something really interesting I found out in playtesting. Expansion Explosion, when you reveal it to God Eternal Kefnet, you actually get to cast both halves. I want to say that's an MTGO bug, but yeah, I'm going to be blocking. I'm going to be able to see God Eternal Kefnet next turn anyway. And this will at least get rid of some of the surprises in your hand. Yep, there's Caryatid. Want a Brazen Borrower. That's what I want. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just another Hexproof and another Deathrite Shaman. Deathrite Shaman's starting off Jayce now. Yeah, I just want to... I'd absolutely love a Brazen Borrower. Petty Theft the Jayce, or Petty Theft the Lotleth Troll. And then we have a Clock. They like get completely reset. They can kill us with Deathrite Shaman in 8 turns, but that doesn't really feel relevant. That's also a pretty good card. Is there a world where I want to leave this? I don't believe so. Deathrite Shaman just isn't actually actively doing anything for our opponent if I leave it. Or if I don't leave it, sorry. He can eat it and make me lose 2 life, and I won't be able to target it with anything. Okay, that is great. So I get to Thing in the Ice. I can remove a counter with Bone Crusher Giant. I can God Eternal. The trample on this guy is making it a little frustrating. Let's see what Chandra... No, I need the mana for Chandra if I'm going to double cast the Bone Crusher Giant and the Thing in the Ice, which I think is my play. Chandra's going to die this turn to the Lotleth Troll, but then I have a Thing in the Ice getting ready to do things. This line here is primarily just to double cast. It also gets the Deathrite Shaman off the table. They'll use this to eat my Treasure Cruise, but then that turns my Jayce's Minus back online. Yeah, it doesn't feel great. Thinking the guys could also just keep Chandra alive for another turn. I'm really just killing time until they find a Soul Flare, though. Yep, as expected. Soul Flare should only be able to hit me for 8 regardless of what they flip, though, and then Thing in the Ice will keep the Soul Flare back. I think Thing in the Ice is going to be a better long-term win condition than Chandra, so we might just need to let her go. We really appreciate the work you did for us today, but your actions were kind of unacceptable, so you need to go away now. This will at least keep the Lotleth Troll off of Jayce, unless they flip something ridiculous. If they flip a or if they flip a Soul Flare, they can kill Jayce and Chandra, and that leaves us with a Thing in the Ice with 3 counters on it, and only a God Eternal Kefnet in hand. Okay, now it's going to have Indestructible. Cannot let Thing in the Ice die. Oh, nope, they found it. Lovely. If they attack us, it's going to be 14 damage, so I have to block with the Thing in the Ice. This is pretty much over. That's a nasty dude. That's a really nasty dude. So if I'm an opponent, I do believe hitting my face is the correct call. They agree. Thing in the Ice is going to keep us alive by 3 points. Jayce, you were so close. Since I only have one out, it's not very statistically relevant, but it does let me see one more card deep into the 43, so this is minimal thinning. Not great, but minimal. God Eternal Kefnet doesn't actually do anything at the moment. Because opponent has trample, I'm still going to be taking 3 in the air, which means Chandra needs to hit something big or I'm done. Show me something big. Jayce's third ability is a -9. You get an emblem whenever you cast a spell, you mill for 5. I also don't have an instant sorcery in the yard for Jayce at the moment because I had to delve them all away for the treasure cruise. I think Expansion Explosion probably would have gotten us out of this situation, but the Deathrite Shaman just wasn't going to do it. And we draw the Expansion Explosion. So I can shoot for 3. That'll draw me 3 cards, but that'll tap me out. What are my actual outs for drawing here? Izzet Charm doesn't actually save me anything. Brazen Borrower can bounce Lotleth Troll. I won't be able to block because I won't be able to cast the flying half of it. Alright, let's Expansion Explosion for 1, but understand that this game is officially over. So, we'll shoot you. We're going to draw. Looking for Brazen Borrower. Come on, big money. I could have done 2, but that would require me to hit a land and Brazen Borrower, but yep, opponent got it. So we died to a turn 2 Soul Flare with all the works that game, and then just really couldn't close out the game. That last one was 100% on me, though, because I forgot Lotleth Troll could discard another creature card. Like, it was clearly written on the card, but mildly distracted. Yeah, so that's where we're at. The deck, though, I love playing Control, and this was 100% greedy and kind of Planeswalker heavy. I don't think long-term that this is, like, it seems playable. Like, Bone Crusher Giant being a 2-mana burn spell as well as a back-upable threat. And in all honesty, Stubborn Denial being able to pair with the fact that he's 4 power seems like it's going to be a great scenario to visit. Brazen Borrower's bounce and 3/1, like, it's just a very powerful magic card. I don't think anybody can really dispute that. I don't believe that the Royal Scion's Fiery Temper Jayce package is necessarily correct here. Izzet Charm is proving to be very powerful, and Izzet Phoenix, but that's because you're pitching cards that you care about. But yeah, like, just really quickly, this is not working. We could slim this down and find something a little bit more powerful if we went with that. Alright, and this is fine. So, opponent's going to be on the play. If it's something I have to Wild Slash, I can shock this in. Otherwise, I'll just be able to bounce something into Royal Scions and to hopefully Chandra. These are all cards I'm very excited to cast. Woodland Cemetery. So, I might be getting Thoughtseize next turn. It's also possible that they're on a Grim Flare or Soul Flare again. Like, honestly, I don't really want to put that out of the picture. But if they're on Grim Flare, which is probably the 2-drop I'm most concerned about, I can actually just bounce it next turn, so I don't need to take the shock. Being green means that they will likely be able to pressure my life total in one way or another, so unknown matchup, I think it's correct to not chalk this in for the Wild Slash, knowing that I have a bounce for the following turn. There's a Blooming Marsh, so okay. It was incorrect of me to expect to bounce something. In that case, this is going to be an untapped land for me on 4, so I can Steam Vents here. If I take the shock, that means I'm 100% on bounce or clone. Or, I'm sorry, dual cast is probably the most correct term there. Twin cast, whatever. If I just expect to Wild Slash this, it means that opponent's going to have Blossoming Defense. So I suppose this means that I need to Steam Vents here, tapped, and expect to burn this out if they tap out. Okay, there's a Winding Constrictor. We'll see if they've got it. The timing here is not ideal, but the additional counter means that it would be out of range of Wild Slash. Okay, so it looks like we're playing the Hardened Scales version. So I will be bouncing the Winding Constrictor, hopefully with a free Walking Ballista or Hangerback Walker on the stack. We'll not be tapping out for Royal Scions here because this will be able to grow out of control, or a Walking Ballista will just be able to shoot it down and I won't get any value other than a single loot out of it. And knowing that, that means Fabled Passage coming in tap this turn doesn't mean too much. I can save Field of Ruin for later. And this 2 damage isn't worth figuring out what opponent's doing at end step. I'd rather catch them off of a free spell. That would have been a free spell. Alright. So at least here I get to Chandra and nuke one of the Winding Constrictors and be on an empty board. That's a position I'm happy to be in. Also means Chandra's going to die to a Walking Ballista, but sometimes you just have to accept the world you live in. With the Brazen Borrower also in exile, it means that they're going to really want a Walking Ballista with at least 2 counters on it. If they just Winding Constrictor and run out a 1-1 Walking Ballista to try to make it a 2-2, then I can at least try to shoot it down after they answer Chandra. Nissa. Okay. Well, they didn't grow yet, but that means that they're going to be attacking in for 6 next turn. That's not very good. I really needed to top deck a land, then I could kill the Winding Constrictor with Expansion Explosion and Chandra's plus for mana. It's too early for Into the Story. The Royal Scions can come out, hopefully find me a land. If not, I can plus Chandra and run out Jayce. That feels awful. I can Izzet Charm, copy it with Expansion Explosion, hit Winding Constrictor twice, and then I only have to deal with the Nissa, which doesn't feel very problematic. I can expect them to minus next turn. If they do, I can just flash in the Brazen Borrower. If they don't have a Walking Ballista, I can kill Nissa, but then I have to deal with a giant board, which means finding Aether Eyes. I don't really want a 2-for-1 myself to get this Winding Constrictor out. So what does that mean? Royal Scions loot into a... I don't know why I want to keep calling this Tormenting Voice. Fiery Temper is my best line here. If this becomes a 4-5, it's very, very hard for me to answer. Alright, well, we need to make a decision here, so that's probably going to be Royal Scions looking for Happy Magic Christmas Land. Alright, that's not Happy Magic Christmas Land, but that is a land, which means I'll have 4 mana available with Chandra. So I can still kill the Winding Constrictor. I think I can deal with the Nissa, so let's go ahead and just pitch Jayce. We'll use Into the Story to refuel at some point in time, but for now we can Izzet Charm, hold priority, 2 damage target creature. We're going to pay a blue. Then we're going to expansion this, copying it. Yep, same targets. Then that way they need to have a Walking Ballista to answer my Chandra. Otherwise I only have to deal with this Nissa, which long term won't be a problem. In fact, it's just dead to Brazen Borrower in 2 turns. They had a... oh my gosh. Well, they get to kill Chandra now. And they have the Hangerback Walker. That's not good. Into the Story is going to cost full price until they get 3 more things in their yard. We found a Sulphur Falls. Hopefully loot away a land. Didn't want to draw a land too. Brazen Borrower at end step, flash it in, kill Nissa, have to deal with Oh no, they're just going to cash out here. So it's going to be 6, 12. I am very, very close to dead. Castle Vantress Scry actually might be my best line here if they just minus Nissa. Yeah, this is not Happy Magic Christmas Land. This is actually very far from Happy Magic Christmas Land. Yep, they cash out as expected because Brazen Borrow would just kill it next turn. Then they get a hit for a lot. Going after the Royal Saiyans makes sense. I am going to Field of Ruin here just because I want one more card in their yard. Maybe Castle Vantress would have been correct, but I think us winning from here is Castle Vantress into drawing multiple cards, which is not great. Getting it out the 3-1 at least means that I'll have a 3-1 in the air. And I'm reading Fatal Push as their last card just because of the way that they floated that mana, and this triggered Revolt for them. Although they had Revolt off of Nissa, so that makes sense. Well, they overpaid for it, so whatever. Into the Story is now live, though. And I'm probably going to need the additional mana, so we'll make our land drop. Into the Story. Don't think there's anything that gets me out of this, though. Nexus of Fate was kind of close. Alright. Aether Eyes would have been the draw there that I needed. Aether Gust coming in. They are very green. Very, very, very green. Izzet Static Caster can answer the Thopters at the bare minimum, so it's coming in, but it can also answer plant tokens before counters get placed on them. I'm not a huge fan of Anger of the Gods in this matchup because one counter usually grows things out of the reach of everything that I can do to kill it. Thing in the Ice, again, just this. There should be 4 of these in the deck. Coming back to this guy, these should just be trimmed for 4 of these. Like, pretty easy. Pretty easy. Into the Story, they won't really be filling their yard too much. We have to trim a lot of things. Grafdigger's Cage, they probably don't have a cord. That's more of a Vanifair thing, so... Izzet Charm's probably kind of bad. We need the 3 damage to hit the Winding Constrictor, especially if there's going to be counters coming out, so I don't think we can trim the Fiery Tempers. For once. Yeah, Keranos is probably too slow. If we're keeping them 1-for-1 until we hit a 5-drop, then we're in a solid place. An Expansion Explosion, like, again, we're not going to be able to kill most of their stuff by the time that we can cast it. I do like having at least one Sphinx's Rev that we can try to dig for and just draw multiple cards, but with Treasure Cruise, we're probably okay. And I would love a discard outlet for these Fiery Tempers or another red source, but this is fine. So if they invest into a board, Thing in the Ice will flip it, so they need to actually have their Fatal Push. And then as we discard things, we can refuel with Treasure Cruise and hopefully just go over the top of them. And honestly, that entering tapped isn't that big of a deal. So Sulphur Falls, Fabled Passage are probably going to be some of the worst cards that we can see. At least as far as lands go, I do want more lands. Please give me more lands. More lands would be fantastic. It'd be funny if they free cast their Once Upon a Time and we copied it. I didn't realize how badly I wanted to do that. Okay, this looks like they're digging for Winding Constrictor. Or they already had it. Red Source! Oh, deck. Deck, deck, deck. I know we're greedy today, but that's not very nice to give me my discard outlet. If this is the Nissa, I honestly can't imagine a very easy way to come back from this. They would have to make a plant here, and then that would give me the ability to Fiery Temper the Winding Constrictor. Alright. Show me something good. Walking Ballista for 1 is going to enter with 2. That can kill Jayce, and that makes Experiment 1 pretty big. So this is clearly a bait, and I'm willing to make this trade. You typically don't want to give your opponent the option to trigger what they're going to do, but this should cash in the Walking Ballista. Okay, it was a bluff. I don't know what's going on then. So I only have 1 mana available. Expansion Explosion's off the table. Yeah, let's actually just fix our mana. Nope, that's not going to work because this is entering tapped. I'm getting mildly fried at the end of this, so discard the Fiery Temper. Then we're going to Madness it. Kill the Winding Constrictor. There goes Thing in the Ice, and we're kind of in an okay position. I do have to take beats at the moment, though. I guess if Walking Ballista? No, because they'll just make their land drop. I don't want them to keep Walking Ballista and kill my Thing in the Ice. That's my takeaway at the end of the day here. Yep, not going to happen. That attack makes me think they missed their last land drop. Otherwise, they would have attacked in with Walking Ballista with the option to just grow it and shoot the Thing in the Ice. That's a Hardened Skells. Then this is probably another Hangerback. That it is. Royal Saiyans. How greedy do I want to be looking for a land? Probably not that greedy. So I have to shoot the Walking Ballista. They'll kill Jayce in response. Let's actually see if we find a land off of this. We do not, but we find a Wild Slash. That's actually very, very good for us. So, Madness this in. I really don't like this, but I think I have to hit the Hangerback Walker just because it's going to be a big, big problem long term. But we'll send the Wild Slash at the Hangerback Walker when they go to activate it. So this is their opportunity to kill Jayce. And Jayce dying just means we get a Treasure Cruise sooner, so I'm not super upset about that. Fiery Temper fizzles. I guess I could have waited on that since Jayce does all that instant speed. If they would have actually gone to make a land drop and grow the Walking Ballista, that would have been more opportune timing. Oh, that's disgusting. I just want lands. Our deck is very greedy. This is clearly a bait, but I'm not going to take the block. I'm just going to kill the Hangerback Walker. They're going to need to find a way to kill my Thing in the Ice before I untap and cast just anything. Like, we can Treasure Cruise next turn. This also looks like a Walking Ballista. They just wanted to hit me for 2, and then they'd Walking Ballista and shoot down the rest of the Thing in the Ice. Okay, it's just a Walking Ballista. Alright. Oh, and that's a Stomp. Okay. I can Treasure Cruise. That won't get me very far, and I'd actually... No, I can't Expansion Treasure Cruise. I can Stomp whenever I feel like it, but if I just Stomp now, I can swing in. If I Stomp now, I have to hit their face, otherwise it gets countered. I can Royal Scions, but I won't have enough mana to do anything. Okay, we're just going for Treasure Cruise. I want to make my land drop this turn. Flip all their stuff back. Would have been nice to kill that Hangerback Walker first, but I really don't think that's happening. How did I miss on a land drop? Oh my gosh, that is so bad. Honestly, Expansion Explosion is like my worst card here. I'm not going to be able to cast it for at least 2 turns, even if I find a land drop. I could Stomp. Actually, if I found a land drop, I could Stomp and then Explosion, but that doesn't feel like it's going to get me very far. Then this is going to be a semi... Oh, Abrupt Decay. Well, we flipped at the right time. They also gave me an opportunity to kill this. Where are my lands at? I'm killing this before they get counters and can start regenerating it. That's going to grow to be a problem very quickly. We're 19 cards in and have seen 3 lands. Like, I'm about to pull up the calculator. That doesn't seem right. Number of successes 3. Like, really? Come on now. We're in the 3 percentile. Oh, Neurodrain, I didn't see you follow. Thank you very much. It's kind of hard to stay on top of that. I think I'm just on Royal Saiyans here because I need to find myself a land drop. Like, I have to find it. Alright, well, Aetherize is actually fantastic versus my opponent's deck. God Eternal Kefnet's probably a little too slow for me to take full value of. They only have 3 cards left in hand, and we know that... No, we don't actually know anything in their hand. So... they could be just up to just about anything. Nissa would be able to kill the Royal Scions, but then I could Brazen Borrow it back to hand and actually just stomp it, so very happy with all that. An opponent paused for a second. They were trying to figure out if they actually wanted to deal with the Royal Scions or not. The fact that I'm on 3 lands on turn 8 is just super bad. Alright. Dodging Nissa. Chandra here should survive. Or Walking Ballista. I guess that's kind of a big list. But Winding Constrictor just has to go. That's not something I can let them keep long term. Then we can loot. That would be a good loot in the future, but I think Aether Gust can go away. I can put Hardened Scales back on top of the deck and gain a life, but that doesn't really feel very relevant at the moment. We have a lot of very powerful cards I want to cast. This Kefnet's actually very close to attacking and blocking as well. Yep, I mean, Chandra did her job. Gain 3 life, destroy target Winding Constrictor. Alright, it's 2 Hangerback Walkers. So, I do have 4 mana up at this point. I think that's loot into Fiery Temper, destroy one of the Hangerback Walkers, hold up Aetherize. 2 cards in hand, I'm not really overly concerned with what opponent can do, and this actually permanently gets rid of a Hangerback Walker for me, which is a problem because I have to answer it multiple times. And then if they do decide to slow roll me, I can just Brazen Borrower and Stomp. Both are perfectly acceptable. Like, the fact that this was a removal spell and he's just been chilling there as an option to cast, I've been very, very happy with this card. Oh, minus. Oh, yes. And the tiltiest of the tilt, the Aetherize. Oh, I knew when I put 2 of these in my deck, I'd be super excited about it. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. That might actually be a concession. Oh, apparently not. Respect, opponent. Trying to stick it out there. We are going to stomp your Nissa, though. That's not a card I want to see long term. Then, sure, Kefnet. The pause, like Aetherize Kefnet, playing ridiculous cards here. Kefnet's actually not doing a whole lot. Maybe I shouldn't have ran it out yet. Yeah, Aether Gust can go away. But at the moment, I'm about to cast Nexus of Fate and ult Royal Scions. Yeah, having these guys, like, if I was a little bit more focused on getting these cards into play, Stubborn Denial would be a great card for this deck. Okay, you get my Nexus. But you also go to 9. Currently have a 5/5 on the table. And 2 4/3s about to come out. They like to play stompy games. So I activate this twice and I can attack, but I have to make a land drop, so it's going to be 2 turns before Kefnet can attack. Brazen Borrower should be keeping most things opponents doing in check. Yeah, that doesn't really help them at all. They're going to be able to make a 6/6 that I can bounce. Oh, Fabled Passage. I do want my land here in case we find the Nexus Fate. We did shuffle it into our deck. Yeah, the other Fabled Passage can go away. Let's go ahead and just cast this guy, and then the mana here can use Kefnet, or nope, we're just going to go for the kill next turn. Because opponent can Serpent, but if they do, we'll just bounce it and attack for lethal. Otherwise, they have to answer a Giant. They'll take 2 damage for doing it and put them very close to dead. We're going to use the other Royal Scions plus ability. Give it +2/+0 first strike. And trample. Like, I didn't think we'd be doing that. Like, we have a lot of split cards. I just didn't think we'd be doing that. Yep, there's a Hangerback Walker. Then they can... They likely were supposed to Serpent for 1. So, this is going to trigger Revolt. Me plussing before doing this doesn't make much of a difference because they can just wait until I'm attacking before Fatal Pushing, so I was going to have to trigger Revolt for them anyway. Yep. Figured that was coming. Now I can Castle Vantress, I can Brazen Borrower, I can bounce with Kefnet, like a lot of different options. Bouncing with Kefnet and looking for a... I keep wanting to say Tormenting Voice. Oh, I moved them out. It's in the sideboard. Fiery Temper. And then looting with Royal Scions might have actually been correct. I would like to close out the game a little bit faster if opponent's going to make us sit through it. I could see Kronos being a good consideration at that point. But what's the trim at that, if we're doing that? Yeah, this Kefnet for Kronos. This was a fun of I put in. I don't think the Kefnet deserves to be in the deck either. That's probably a pretty easy trim. You want a turn 5 explosion for 1? Yeah, this hand's not keepable. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. I think we're looking for a mountain. Once upon a time, this opponent does seem to be casting it correctly, so I would expect that they were going to experiment one before Once Upon a Timing. All right, as long as I have a tap land, Temple of Epiphany should help me set up to get out of my mulligan better. And Steam Vents is a fine draw. This Aether Gust will be able to put Experiment 1 back on top of the deck regardless on if they can regenerate it or not. And they have the Winding Constrictor already. Fantastic. So I can Steam Vents tapped, Aether Gust the Winding Constrictor back on top of the deck. I can just run out the Jayce. They have 4 cards in hand. I think I have to run out the Jayce here and just plan on flipping them and trying to use Jayce's plus to keep damage off of me for a couple of turns. I can also use this to fog combat for a turn or 2. If I find a Fiery Temper, alright, well, I don't think opponent gets a better start than this, and we mulligan to 5, so I suppose it's partially life. Do get an Aether Gust here. If opponent runs out a big creature that's going to evolve this, it's going to have to be the Experiment 1. Otherwise, it's going to be the Winding Constrictor. Yep. I mean, this is a fairly strong tempo play, but I have nothing else going on. Getting Aether Gust in the yard will make me Treasure Cruise faster, but I need to find hard removal here. Once upon a time, likely picking up the Winding Constrictor again. Yep. Sulphur Falls. Still cannot Wild Slash with... Or I cannot Treasure Cruise with my other spells. Very close, but still can't do it. Alright, well, hopefully they run out something I can Wild Slash. I'm assuming they're going to run out the Winding Constrictor, but... just trying to stay alive. Opponent had a really good draw, and we had a terrible mulligan. Experiment 1 did go to top of library. There once upon a timing for it, which means I can Wild Slash it. Come on! Oh, they went for Hardened Scales? Alright, I suppose that's fine. If I leave up Wild Slash, I can kill Experiment 1 when it comes down, so I think I need to keep that. I'm also expecting their hand to be flush with removal, given how they've been playing this game. They've been going very slow given our mulligan, so fully expecting a Fatal Push here. Okay, maybe not, but perfectly okay with that. I can also block the Winding Constrictor for a while. Treasure Cruise will refill us a bit. Treasure Cruise and Jayce also has not been working out very well for me today. Alright. Come on, big money. Get me out of this mulligan. That is actually a very interesting draw. So one more land, Walking Ballista will make a 4/4. Alright, they did have the Abrupt Decay. Currently at 7. Walking Ballista shooting my face is a big concern at the moment then. Okay, there's Jayce. I'm going to try to Static Caster to block the Winding Constrictor. If they're going for something dangerous, I have Fiery Temper as a backup, but I'd much rather Fiery Temper for 1 and actually get my card advantage off of Jayce by casting this than just forcing it on the Winding Constrictor here. Yep, so expecting... oh, they're just going for it. Yeah, I have to. I can't let this happen. That feels so bad. Okay, that Wild Slash is kind of medium at the moment. I'm killing Nissa. Izzet Static Caster can answer the plant tokens pretty successfully, but I want to flip Jayce here and start upticking him. And I need one more card in the yard for that. So now I can actually kill Winding Constrictor. Oh, they have nothing going on. I did not expect that last concession. We were very far behind. I don't think opponent realized we mulliganed to 5. Well, so I'm going to pull this up for just a moment. Despite the fact that the flip and split and adventure cards aren't actually up here, they are calculated in the price total. This deck is fairly expensive for Pioneer. In fact, it's definitely on the top end. That's why I flagged it for competitive. But it is kind of a piece. Piece being bad, not like dime piece, but piece. As I already mentioned, I had cut the package here for Jayce's Prodigy, the Tormenting Voice. Kefnet needs to go, but this core, especially with 2 more Thing in the Ices, is fantastic. Maybe not God Eternal Kefnet either. That was one of the fun ofs. I like to include a lot of fun ofs because I play stupid decks, but the Brazen Borrows were very powerful. They triggered spells. The Bone Crusher Giant is a threat as well as a removal spell. This format's a little bit on the slower side. Izzet Charm, kind of medium performing. I did like the ability to fill the yard, though, with Jayce, Treasure Cruise, Ral. Like, it felt like it was going to fit pretty well, but I don't know if this is correct. With the Phoenixes, it feels correct, but I could see a shell like this working. Into the story also proved itself to be kind of awkward to cast. The opponent having control over their graveyard was really bad. I'd also consider splashing into another color because these Grafdigger cages did not work out. Anger of the Gods, like, I want to just deal more damage. Like, maybe Kozilek's Return and actually going with... I should probably pull these cards up. Kozilek's Return. 2 damage to each creature. Then when you cast an Eldrazi with 7 or greater, you may exile it. I know the Elder Deep Fiend Kozilek's Return deck is kind of a thing, and it would actually answer a lot of the problems that we had for the going wide. Oh, it's Elder Deep Fiend. Deep, maybe? Yep, this guy. So emerge, you can sack a creature, which actually works pretty well with the Bone Crusher Giant as well, to tap 4 creatures, but when you cast this, it brings back Kozilek's Return, dealing 7 to everybody. Maybe this shell is correct. I should probably put Kozilek's Return back in here just so that we can reference both of them. So 7 or greater, it deals 5 to each creature. Sorry, I misspoke. And then you cast this by emerging it into play and reducing the cost equal to whatever converted mana cost your creature is. Tap down some of their stuff, you nuke their board. Like, this actually would have been pretty easy on the top end and probably better than the Kefnets that I ran for fun. Ral showed to be very powerful. Aetherize, I'm just so glad this paid off once. It's probably more correct to be running the correct sweepers instead of just trying to get the gotchas. This does get things like Hardened Scales, which is a huge part of the meta. It also gets some of the Phoenixes and Thing in the Ices. It gets Bogles, which was the primary concern, the reason why I included them. Although, if we're talking about some of these decks... Dredge was another one that it got. Aether Spouts was the card that I probably should have ran in its place. It is 5 mana, but it either puts it on top or bottom as opposed to returning it to their hand. The 2 blue is not a problem to cast, and for 1 more mana, you at least tempo every single card that you hit. And with everything on the bottom end slowing our opponent down this much, this actually felt like it'd be pretty strong. So if I ran this again, I'd probably be doing this. Chandra was fairly powerful, but she didn't work very well with the Aether Spouts and a couple of the other cards. But Chandra and Bone Crusher Giant has worked very well for me. If you end up plussing Chandra for the exile effect on turn 5, you can Bone Crusher Giant. If you Chandra on turn 4, you can usually stomp something Protector, as well as ticking her mana up. We did go 2-3. I punted really hard versus the Soul Flare deck, and they also had a God Draw, so you do what you can with that. But these are just some thoughts. I think Izzet Control is pretty powerful, and there are a couple of things we can do to make this work, but maybe not that. The shell's here. It's just finding the last 11 cards to flex, and this isn't my strong suit. You see me play a bunch of random janky decks week to week. Finding the perfect twist in here, I guess it's 9 with the other 2 Thing in the Ices, which I don't currently own, but could be very powerful, and I love Izzet. I love Control, so this felt like home. Mana could also maybe use a little bit more work. Mana is still a little iffy in Pioneer. We'll figure it out someday. But thanks for sticking around. I am thirteene. I play janky decks. If you have a fun idea, send it to me. I love seeing them. Happy to respond to them. If it's really cool, we'll play it on stream. I stream twice a week. Schedule's over there on the left. We have a full history of everything up on YouTube. Go check it out. Not all the decks are great because we play stupid stuff, but we usually hang around and have fun, and I hope you had fun tonight. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one.